hustle, man, this job ain't easy. This ain't no joke. This ain't no joke. They keep playing around, they think it's a game, they do not believe me. I just been watching for days. You just been stuck in your ways, hoping and looking for change. Turns out that wasn't a phase. Hey, I'm not amazed, and I don't need your praise. Hey, grinding around again and again, you stuck in a maze. Can't find my spot, I'm out going low wavy. They trying to stop me, yeah, they moving shady. You think it's bravery, I think it's crazy. Nothing can stop me, boy, nothing can faze me. Still undefeated, y'all couldn't face me. Could be whatever, man, Army or Navy. I think it's bravery, I think it's crazy. Nothing can stop me, boy, nothing can faze me.
God among the men, homemade, died along the way, roll it, full sun, man. You believe it, could you believe it? You know me, God among the men, homemade, died along the way, roll it, full sun, man. You believe it, could you believe it? Down, pick it up, drop down, pick it up, stop it down, pick it up, drop down, pick it up, who can stop it down, pick it up, drop down, pick it up, who can stop it down, pick it up, drop down, pick it up, pick it up. Yeah, I got the keys, put it in my hand, let the trumpet blow, coming with the band, let the music play, going with your dance, race to the Lord, take it up again, take it up again, take it up again.
With Asana, AI teammates can help level up your goals by connecting them to relevant projects, so every team knows their role in the bigger picture. Asana, the #1 AI work management platform.
Stop research.
Missile and internal DC. Pressurization complete.
That's one small step for man. Houston, say again, please.
We can never miss, 'cause we fly, and you can bet on this. So say la, we can never miss, 'cause we fly, and you can bet on this. So say la, They got demons in the sky now, my angels gonna bring them down. They eagle flying in the heavens, they getting carried away now. You might be ruling on the planet, but ain't no telling when your kingdom coming down. Yeah, you gon' be the end, but Jacob gonna shoot them down. And we can never miss, 'cause we fly, and you can bet on this. So say la, we can never miss, 'cause we fly, and you can bet on this. So say la, Woke up to the news, tell me what I say. Another black brother shot down, what you think? Tried to build a case, but the jury wouldn't say. Now they on the plane trying to flame. You can fly to Mars, fly to Venus. You head to Pluto, then you go see us. We in the stars, beyond your reaches. If you can find it, then we go seek it. We can never miss, 'cause we fly, and you can bet on this. So say la, we can never miss, 'cause we fly, and you can bet on this. Try it, kill me. You know you ain't no good to me. Ooh, and I like the way you talk to me, but I can never roll with you. Cause every time I think upon the love, I know you never wanna do it. Too evil wanna go with me. Every little step he ain't getting over me. Dark cloud, rain falling all of me. Drowning every time he taking hold of me. Cause you know you ain't no good to me. You know you ain't no good to me. You know you ain't no good to me. You know you ain't no good. I've been
Headphones back when I'm
riding,
even from within of my
minding.
kill 'em.
You know you ain't no good to me. I've been
Holding you back from the
lying,
giving many space in it.
trying.
Kill me.
You know you ain't no good to me. Yeah, left it, now you desperate. Thinking about the stuff that I dealt with. Plaguing me with all the memories of lust I once did. Ooh, hatred, yeah, I faced it. Even killed my brother like I'm David. Pray for mercy every time you bring it up. But I know you won't go for me. Every little step you gonna go with me. Yeah, I kinda joke with me. Trying to work my faith, you bring the gold to me. You gon' leave me. You don't believe me. Leave me. But I work, yeah, bringing out the truth. Do the work, work, yeah, killing all the flesh. Hope it work, yeah. You know you ain't no good to me. You know you ain't no good to me. You know you ain't no good to me. Nah, you know you ain't no good. I've been
Headphones back when I'm
riding,
even from within of my
minding.
kill 'em.
You know you ain't no good to me. I've been
Holding you back from the
lying,
giving many space in it.
trying.
Kill me.
You know you ain't no good to me. Riding, minding. You know you ain't no good to me. Lying, trying. You know you ain't no good to me. Hey, work it out. And I like the way you talk to me. Work it out. And I like the way you walk with me. Work it out. But you know you ain't no good. Ooh. And I like the way you roll with me. Work it out. And I like you when you go with me. Work it out. But you know you ain't no good. Ooh. You know you ain't no good. You know you ain't no good. You know you ain't no good. You put me on the road now, where I gotta go now. Demons on the road now, and I don't wanna turn, no, I don't wanna turn, no. Show me in your word now, you the one to hold me down. I'm giving you my soul now, I'm giving you my, yeah. Work for your life, work. Even if it hurts, do it right, I know the Lord is working with me. If no one else around, he the one that's with me. Evil said he lurking for me. Sitting in the dark, pull the curtain on me. I see the shadow coming for me. Walking in the valley, need your mercy on me. I know you wanna hear it from me. My soul is crying, looking to me. Yeah, I see the path you named for me, but you the one that's gotta show me. You put me on the road now, where I gotta go now. Demons on the road now, and I don't wanna turn, no, I don't wanna turn, no. Show me your word now. You the one to hold me down. I'm giving you my soul now. I'm giving you my, yeah. Hope in the Lord now. Even when you're going through your chores now. Even when your body feeling weak. Tribulation going on throughout the week. Feel it in your soul, bring it down now. Down upon your knees, make a sound now. Cry unto the Lord, no one's round now. Put your hands up, make a shout now. I know you wanna hear it from me. My soul is crying, looking to me. Yeah, I see the path you named for me. But you the one that's gotta show me. You put me on the road now, where I gotta go now. Demons on the road now, and I don't wanna turn, no, I don't wanna turn, no. Show me in your word now. You the one to hold me down. I'm giving you my soul now. I'm giving you my, I'm giving you my, yeah. You put me on the road now, where I gotta go now. Demons on the road now, and I don't wanna turn, no, I don't wanna turn, no. Show me in your word now. You the one to hold me down. I'm giving you my soul now. I'm giving you my, I'm giving you my, yeah.
Ain't nobody gonna hold him back. Ain't nobody gonna hold him back. Look around, ain't gonna hold him back. Ain't nobody gonna hold him. Bring it back up. Ain't nobody gonna hold me back. Praise the Lord, ain't nobody gonna hold me back. Ain't nobody gonna hold me back. With my strength in the Lord, they gon' hold me back. Yeah.
I know you wanna hear it from me. My soul is crying, looking to me. Yeah, I see the path you named for me. But you the one that's gotta show me. You put me on the road now, where I gotta go now. Demons on the road now, and I don't wanna turn, no, I don't wanna turn, no. Show me in your word now. You the one to hold me down. I'm giving you my soul now. I'm giving you my, I'm giving you my, yeah. You put me on the road now, where I gotta go now. Demons on the road now, and I don't wanna turn, no, I don't wanna turn, no. Show me in your word now. You the one to hold me down. I'm giving you my soul now. I'm giving you my, I'm giving you my, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. She said she would leave me, yeah. How could you take a love from me? Oh, yeah. It started back when I had nothing to do. I never knew I had nothing, had no one that could tell me the truth. No one showed me what I need to do. She took me in a whole night, does everything. Can't believe all the things I'm doing wrong. I never knew what loving before, but she ain't play around. Said that she would go, yeah, she said she would leave. She said she would leave. Oh, she taking love from me. Oh, how could she take the love from me? So I couldn't let it happen to me. I gotta get my heart right. Couldn't let it go. Never had this thing happen to me. When I think about it, I break down. When you show me your word, I'm lost in the moment. You open my eyes, and now they open. I never wanna go back to the days when I couldn't see. Cause she said she would leave. She said she would leave. Oh yeah. She'd take a love from me. Oh yeah. How could you take love from me? Take love from me. Take love. When you have it, don't ever let go. Yeah. Don't ever let go. Just hold on. Think about what you've been doing. You control what you've been doing. And yeah, think about all the time you spent around all the wrong people, hating on the low, asking where you been, why you reading alone. Wanna know, could she say she will leave?
Test.
How could you take your love from me? Take your love from me. 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 Take your love.
Shalom, family. Most High in Christ bless. Most High in Christ bless. All right. So let's go ahead and send up our prayers for the morning. Let's go ahead and do it. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and the glory forever. O Heavenly Father, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we come before you today for thanksgiving. Give you thanks for giving us life in these last days, as well as leaders upon your own heart, to teach us our heritage once again, and that we can return back to you. We also send up prayers for any brothers and sisters that may be going through any ailments, mentally or physically, that you send your angels of healing over them and heal them speedily and quickly. We also send up prayers for the destruction of our enemies, that through us keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, we can actually see the destruction of our enemies, as well as the upliftment of Israel through returning back to our heritage. In your mighty Son, name Jesus the Christ, we pray. Amen. All right, shalom, family. Shalom, shalom. Most High in Christ bless. Officer Keaton here from Birmingham, and we got a good class for you today. We got a good one. All right, so the name of the class is The Attack of the Spiritual Vampire. All right, The Attack of the Spiritual Vampire. Now, we know that, you know, vampires are mythical creatures, but the spiritual vampire is a real thing, and it's alive and well in Israel. So we're gonna get into it. Actually see, hey, if you are this type of spirit, hey, this is a class to fix it. If you recognize this type of spirit, hey, you can help them along. All right. So the purpose of this class is really to identify and vanquish this type of spirit. All right. So let's start with Romans 15:4. Let's go ahead and get into it. Romans chapter 15, verse 4.
The book of Romans, chapter 15 and verse 4.
Uh-huh.
For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning,
Uh-huh.
that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope.
All right. So, family, the things that was written aforetime is really for us to learn from. The only thing that we can go through is the history of the Bible. That actually shows us the things that was aforetime, right? Meaning before our lives today. So we learn from these things, and then we gain comfort from what our forefathers wrote in the Bible, and we apply it to our lives. So, again, the attack of the spiritual vampire. You're like, wait a minute. Was there vampires or spiritual vampires in the scriptures? Yes, there were. There was a lot of them. All right, so the first thing I want to do is IT. Let's go to that wiki page I posted. So on that wiki page, it's gonna explain what the vampire is. So what we're gonna do is look at the mythical vampire and then compare that to the spiritual vampire. All right. So let's see. Let us see. Because like I said, the term vampire is real to a degree, meaning you have like blood-sucking animals or things of that nature. But we're going to get into this tense. I want you to read the first sentence.
A vampire is a mythical creature
See, a mythical creature, meaning it's fake. Read.
that subsists by feeding on the vital essence, generally in the form of blood, of the living.
All right, so this is one of the traits of a vampire. It feeds off the vital essence of the living, right? All right, so that's one characteristics of the vampire, right? It feeds off the life force of others. Another characteristics of a vampire is they love the darkness, all right? The vampire loves the darkness. Another characteristic of a vampire is they bite others to spread their kind. That's how they multiply. That's how they, and this is going into the mythical sense. The vampire will have to bite somebody to then spread their, in a way it's a disease, but that's how they grow, all right? And then finally, they hate mirrors because they lack a reflection, because in mythical folklore, when a vampire is next to a mirror, it hates it because that is what reveals if it's a vampire or not. So let's get into it. First, we're going to go with they love darkness. So the physical vampire loves darkness. That's where they hunt. That's where they dwell in. They don't like sunlight. All right, so let's get Proverbs chapter 4, verse 19. Let's start there first. Because the physical vampire loves darkness, but let's see what the spiritual vampire, what do they like? Proverbs chapter 4, verse 19.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 4 and verse 19.
Uh-huh.
The way of the wicked is as darkness.
Wait, read that again?
The way of the wicked is as darkness.
So you see that? The way of the wicked is as darkness. Read.
They know not at what they stumble.
So the way of the wicked is as darkness, and they don't know the way that they stumble, meaning they're just aimlessly going through life. They have no rhyme or reason of what they're doing. They're just doing things with no care in the world. Then that darkness alludes to sin. You see that? So this is one attribute of the spiritual vampire. They dwell in covert sin. All right, let's keep going. Go to Jude chapter 1. And, Jude 1, of course, it's just one chapter anyway. Start at verse 12. I want you to read 12 and 13 only. Let's get it.
The book of Jude, chapter 1 and verse 12.
Uh-huh.
These are spots in your feast of charity, when they feast with you, feeding themselves without fear.
You see that? So the spiritual vampire feed themselves without fear, meaning the spiritual vampire, they may not drink blood like the physical, because we're going to get into that. They may not drink blood, but they are around you, meaning they keep certain tenets of the laws of God, but not to the full extent when it goes against their comfort. They stop it right there. But let's keep reading.
Clouds, they are without water, carried about of winds. Trees whose fruit withered, without fruit, twice dead.
So without fruit, without works, twice dead. So they're just in here. And vampires are really looked at as the living dead. So in this tense, the spiritual vampire is in the congregation. They are around, but they're not producing any works. Very hard to see them. They'll be in many groups, but they don't do anything. They're not profitable in those said groups. Keep reading.
Plucked up by the roots, raging waves of the sea, forming out of their own shame.
Read.
Wandering stars, to whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever.
So they're in total ignorance. They don't. And then this is the thing, Israel. They don't even know. Like it's honestly, they are blind to that degree where I can have this class, I can break down the spiritual vampire, and they will still question it. They in their mind, they're not a spiritual vampire. In their mind, it doesn't compute that they are actually sucking the life force out of people. They don't see it. But let's keep reading. Jump down to verse 16.
Verse 16.
This is another characteristic of a spiritual vampire. Read.
These are murmurers.
So wait a minute. So we just read earlier they're at the feast. Okay, so that means that they're in the congregation. Then we also read that they produce no fruit. So that means that they have no works. And then they're twice dead, meaning they are not productive in either the offices that they're in or the people around them. They're not productive. Now we're reading in 16, another characteristic of this spiritual vampire. Keep reading.
Complainers.
Ooh, so murmurers, complainers, read.
Walking after their own lust.
They walk after the lust of their own mind. Whatever they feel is right, they take it as face value. They try not to get counsel on a lot of things, but we're gonna circle back to that. Read.
And their mouth speaketh great swelling words.
Meaning they will boast themselves as if they are the grand poobah, if they know a lot of knowledge. But in their works, it shows that they don't know nothing at all. Read.
Having men's persons in adoration.
Meaning that they speak these swelling words just to gain the love of men. Not out of sincerity, just for the clout or the love of other brothers or sisters. Read.
Because of advantage.
Read on. Jump down to verse, 19 now.
Verse 19. These be they who separate themselves sensually, having not the Spirit.
So sensual and having not the Spirit of God. So they operate not off the tenets of God's law. They operate off their own emotions disguised as God's law. So this is, we just went through 3 different forms of what a spiritual vampire is going to do. 1, they will be at the feast. They're going to be in the midst of the congregation. 2, they're not going to be productive in producing works. They're going to be in many groups, but they're not going to be productive. 3, they're going to murmur, complain. They're going to walk after their own opinion and their own mind. And they're going to be a man pleaser. That's another one. 4, they're when they get offended, they separate themselves away from the body for a time. Then they come around and be like, oh, yeah, I'm good now. I'm good. Nah, I'm going to show y'all these spiritual vampires, you got to watch out. If you get bit, you don't want to get bit now. If you get bit, that's it. It's a wrap. Now, go back to the wiki page. IT, go right back to the wiki page. Now read that first part again.
Vampire. A vampire is a mythical creature that subsists by feeding on the vital essence, generally in the form of blood of the living.
All right, so the vampire feeds off the blood, or that is the life force. Let's get that real quick. Genesis 9 and 4. This is what the mythical vampire feeds off of. But the mosquitoes here in Alabama, good Lord, those are some vampires. Those some real vampires right there. All right, so let's get Genesis 9 and 4.
Yes, sir. Genesis chapter 9 and verse 4.
Uh-huh.
But flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat.
All right, so now we see that God has a law in the Bible that we're not supposed to eat the blood. Why? Because it's the life thereof. Read.
And surely your blood of your lives will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it. And at the hand of man, and at the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man.
So this is just showing you that blood is the essence. It's the life force of us men that's on this earth. That's our life force. Now, my question is, if a spiritual vampire if a physical vampire takes blood or the life essence from individuals, but I clearly said that a spiritual vampire is in the body. So they're not eating blood. Not at all. But what other life essence are they taking away or sapping out of brothers and sisters? It's a very, very important one. One that once it's gone, it's gone. Let's get it. Give me Genesis chapter 6, verse 3 now. Genesis chapter 6, verse 3. Let's see something. Let's build real quick, Israel. Let's build.
The book of Genesis, chapter 6 and verse 3.
Uh-huh.
And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man,
Uh-huh.
for that he also is flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years.
So now we see that the Lord has limited our lifespan because of sin. When you read earlier in the chapter, the sons of God started to go into the son of men's daughters, and we gotten weaker in stature because of that, and it was sin. Now, let's go to Wisdom of Solomon. Give me chapter 2, verse 23. Let's show the opposite effect. If that wouldn't have happened, let's say our forefathers would have followed God's law to the T from the beginning, right? This is what it should be like. Read that.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2 and verse 23.
Uh-huh.
For God created man to be immortal.
To be what?
Immortal.
Read on.
And made him to be an image of his own eternity.
So God created man to be immortal and to be an image of eternity. Y'all see that? So we wasn't meant to die. In these bodies right here that we're in right now, we wasn't meant to die. We was meant to live forever. But because of the sin of the sons of God, we gotten weaker in our status or in this body. And God put a time limit on our lives. Let's go over to Psalms 90, verse 10 now. We're going to read Psalms 90, verse 10 through 12. I'm building, Israel. I'm building. I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to get to that. Because remember, I asked the question, right? The mythical vampire takes blood, but the spiritual vampire takes something just as equal to blood. It is the life essence of man, right? Read that.
Psalms chapter 90 and verse 10. The days of our years are 80 years and 10.
Uh-huh.
And if by reason of strength they be 80 years, yet is their strength labor and sorrow.
So it says, read that again, verse 10.
Verse 10.
Uh-huh.
The days of our years are 80 years and 10.
All right, so 3 score. So a score is 20. 3 times 20 is 60. And 10, that's add 10 to that. That's 70 years, Israel. Read.
And if by reason of strength they be 80 years.
So if God gives you strength, now it's 80 years. Now that's 80 years. Again, 20 times 4. Read.
Yet is their strength labor and sorrow.
Read on.
For it is soon cut off, and we fly away.
So we fly away, meaning we die. Our spirits leave this body. So now we see that there's a life expectancy in this body that we're in. The spiritual vampire takes time away from you. Again, they take time away from you. Remember what we read in Jude. They're complainers, they're murmurers. So when they have complaints, they're not asking just for a solution. They're asking just to ask. They're making a complaint just to make a complaint. It's no real rhyme or reason why. And then what does that do? That takes up your time or your life force. You can't get your time back. Think about it. Our body can reproduce blood cells or new blood cells from our bone marrow each and every day. But can you replenish your time? No, you cannot. So a spiritual vampire is even more deadlier because now they're taking something you cannot replenish. If I were to waste, let's say 30 minutes talking to this spiritual vampire. If I waste 30 minutes, I cannot get those 30 minutes back. I don't care how, I can't turn back the hands of time. I cannot say, hey, I respite my time back. I can't do that. Once the 30 minutes is gone, that is your life. 30 minutes of your life was just wasted on a vampire, a spiritual vampire. Now, that's why I'm trying to tell y'all, brothers and sisters, how to identify who is the spiritual vampire so you don't have to waste your life force or your time on this earth with them. All right? So let's keep going. Go to 1 Peter's real quick. 1 Peter's 4:15. It's very important, Israel. We have to look out for these type of individuals because they feed off time. They feed off your time. They know their issues. They know their complaints. They actually have solutions for them, but they choose not to do them. Read that.
1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 15. But let none of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as an evil doer.
Read on.
Or as a busybody in other men's matter.
This is another trait of a spiritual vampire. They are busybodies. Always in other people's business but they own. They know more about what's going on in somebody else's house versus their own problems. These are different identifiers, Israel, how to look at, okay, this person is a spiritual vampire. This person is a spiritual vampire. These are the traits that they have. All right? So let's keep going. 1 Thessalonians 5:19. 1 Thessalonians 5:19.
1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 19. Quench not the spirit.
You see that? Quench not the spirit. When you deal with a spiritual vampire, Israel, they're going to quench your spirit because they're taking your life force, which is the time you have on this earth. They are taking it away from you by their complaints and their murmurings that they don't want a resolution for. So you got to look out for that. They're going to quench your spirit. Let's go over to, it's a video I have, IT, about what an axe hole is, because this is something that we have to know about, Israel. We have to know what an axe hole is. A-S-K hole. Axe hole. What is an axe hole? I have a picture of a definition as well as the video. Let's get the definition first. Then we could do the video right after the definition. However y'all got to do it. And there we go. Zoom in, zoom in. I want everybody to see this one. I want everybody to see this. There we go. Go up. Yeah, right there, right there. Oh, praises. All right, read that for me, reader.
What is the meaning of a ask hole?
A axe hole now. A axe hole. Read that.
A person who consistently asks for advice, yet always does the opposite of what you told them.
You see that? This is what an axe hole is. Somebody that asks for advice and they do the opposite anyway. Huh. Look at God. Look at that. This is one of the major traits of a spiritual vampire. And I know y'all brothers and sisters know what I'm talking about. Where there's people in your life that will ask you for advice. You will give them the rundown. You'll break it down to the finest detail, and then they just disregard it. It's like, oh, I'm gonna do my own thing. That was a waste of your time. That was a waste of your life force. All right, let's get that video real quick. Let's go ahead and get that video. Yes, sir. Yes, I know y'all brothers and sisters know what I'm talking about. So this is what an axe hole is. This is one of the things that a spiritual vampire does. I can't stand when people... They ask a lot of questions, and then they don't want the solution. Trust me, they don't want it. They just want to ask questions to seem as if they're serious about what they're trying to do. All right, let's get that video. No, not that one, not that one. The one with the Edomite. I'm gonna close with that video. The one with the Edomite. I want him.
All right, in today's
you gotta have Edom sometimes talk to Jake. You gotta have Edom talk to Jake sometimes and confirm the bias. They don't listen to the prophets. Sometimes you gotta rely on the devil to talk to God's people sometimes. You just got to. So now Esau has the definition of what an axe hole is, and this is actually a corporate it's a word that's used in corporate America a lot. And it's a lot of people that's in corporate America that does this. But there's people in the truth that do the same thing too. All right, play that.
All right, in today's quick minute, we're going to discuss what is an ask hole. You heard me right, an ask hole. And this is not exactly a technical term or an IT term, but it is a business and general adulting term, and one that's really handy. We tend to run across it a lot in IT. And what it is, this is when you have a person who asks a question, doesn't get the answer that they were hoping for, and continues to ask more and more people until they get the answer that they want. They may have to ask 2 people. They may have to ask 20 people. They just keep asking, and they generally end up asking someone with no authority to give the answer, because all the people with the authority give the same answer, one that they don't like. I've got some great
stop
examples
right there.
of this that I'm going to give in other.
All right, so he says that this type of individual asks people that's not in authority. So a spiritual vampire will hang around younger people in the truth. Rewind that back a little bit. Go back a little bit. About right there. Yes. Now, a spiritual vampire is going to hang around young people in the truth or their peers and not be around leadership or talk to leadership. And this goes on the man side and the woman side. For the women, they're not going to talk to the leadership wives at all. They're going to stay to themselves, but they'll talk to newer sisters. They'll talk to newer brothers, but they will not talk to leaders, because they know leaders can sense the BS. They already know that. Play that again.
Have to ask 20 people. They just keep asking, and they
generally
end up asking someone.
Now, they're asking 20 people. This is what we call contingency questioning, where you ask multiple people the same question, and you're trying to look for the weakest link, meaning the person that gives you the answer that you want. Even though multiple people before this one person told you, don't do this, don't go down here, don't talk to this person, don't go to this job. You will not listen to all the counselors that you had before, but you will listen to this one individual counselor that gave you the credence to do whatever you wanted to do. Keep reading or keep going.
expecting someone with no authority to give the answer because all the people with the authority give the same answer, one that they don't like. I've got some great examples of this that I'm going to give in other videos coming up right after this, but it's a great term to use. It's very descriptive and it's useful. It's a problem that we really run into in business with all different ranges, but in IT, because things can be a little bit complex, people often believe if they keep asking that they can just plausibly deny that they didn't know that the answer was wrong. All right.
All right. Woo. Look at Esau breaking down axe hole. Look at that. Look at God. Now, with that, Israel, this is very serious now. So now we can go into the scriptures, because remember, we read Romans 15:4 about the things that was written aforetime was written for our learning, right? So now that means that I can go through scripture and see the same spirit in Israel and how it looks and the effects of it. Let's jump over to 1 Kings chapters 12. We're going to start at verse 1 and read to 15. So we're going to get a little history in Israel, because we have to look at the sins of our forefathers to know what to repent from. That's what Leviticus 26:40 down talks about. We have to look at the sins of our forefathers. This is one of the sins, being that spiritual vampire, sucking the life force out of your own people. Read that.
1 Kings chapter 12 and verse 1. And Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel were come to Shechem to make him king. And it came to pass, when Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who was yet in Egypt, heard of it.
All right, so let's so Rehoboam again is southern kingdom. That's Solomon's son, and Jeroboam was the servant of Solomon, which is in the future he became the ruler over northern kingdom. Keep reading.
For he was fled from the presence of King Solomon, and Jeroboam dwelled in Egypt. That they sent and called him. And Jeroboam and all the congregation of Israel came and spake unto Rehoboam, saying, Thy father made our yoke grievous. Now therefore make thou the grievous servants of thy father and his heavy yoke which he put upon us lighter, and we will serve thee.
Okay, so now this is going back to the grievous works that Solomon put on northern kingdom. We had brothers in northern kingdom that knew how to form brass, how to build certain structures, things of that nature. And remember, Solomon was in the midst of idolatry. He was in the midst of serving other gods due to having multiple wives of other nations. And with that, he was offering up certain things to be built to please his wives. So it was putting a work on the workers, which was northern kingdom at the time. But let's keep reading.
And he said unto them, Depart yet for 3 days, then come again to me. And the people departed. And King Rehoboam consulted with the old men that stood before Solomon his father, while he yet lived, and said, How do ye advise that I may answer this people?
Read on.
And they spake unto him, saying, If thou wilt be a servant unto this people this day, and will serve them, and answer them, and speak good words to them, then they will be thy servants forever.
So you see that Rehoboam is getting counsel from the counselors that counsel his father. And mind you, Solomon was the wisest man on the earth. But now his son, he asked the question, and these counselors, these men, are giving him good counsel, how to deal with the people. But let's see what happened. Read.
But he forsook the counsel of the old men.
You see that? So these men took the time out, had a good idea how he can win over the people, how he can rule over them forever, all this stuff. They had plans. They showed them what to do, how to speak, all this stuff. But when you hear that but, that means he went contrary unto everything that they told him. But let's see who he listened to. Read.
Which they had given him, and consulted with the young men.
And consulted with who?
consulted with the young men.
His peers or people in that's not in leadership positions. We just saw that. An axe hole will consult with people that's not in leadership positions, and they will ask the same question to multiple individuals until they get the answer that they want. We're seeing a spiritual vampire in the scriptures right now. His name is Rehoboam, out of the tribe of Judah. Keep reading.
That were grown up with him, and which stood before him, and said unto them, what counsel give ye that we may answer this people?
Read.
Who have spoken to me, saying, make the yoke which thy father did put upon us lighter. And the young men that were grown up with him spake unto him, saying, thus shalt thou speak unto this people that spake unto thee, saying, thy father made our yoke heavy, but make thou it lighter unto us. Thus shalt thou say unto them, my little finger shall be thicker than my father's loins.
You see that? So now he is bashing his father, but at the same time showing disrespect to his own nation. And he listened to young men that was not in leadership positions. Now, with the counselors, with the older counselors, they was telling Rehoboam, hey, if you do it this way, this way, you can rule this people forever. But he then asked the same question to men that grew up with him. They gave him bad counsel or counsel that he wanted to hear, and he ran with it. This is the attribute of a spiritual vampire, Israel. So we're reading about it right now. They don't listen to counsel. They hate counsel. Keep reading.
And now, whereas my father did lay you with a heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke. My father hath chastened you with whips, but I will chasten you with scorpions.
So he's gonna be harder on them. He's gonna be harder on Northern Kingdom than Solomon was. Keep reading.
So Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam the third day, as the king had appointed, saying, come to me again the third day. And the king answered the people roughly.
Why? Because he got the counsel from his buddies, from his peers versus his leaders. Read.
And forsook the old men's counsel that they gave him, and spake to them after the counsel of the young men, saying, my father made your yoke heavy, and I will add to your yoke. My father also chastened you with whips, but I will chasten you with scorpions.
Read. Let's see the reaction of the people now. Because, again, I said that there's a cause and effect with this. When a spiritual vampire is present, it always creates a rift in something in the congregation. Let's see what happened.
Verse 15, wherefore the king hearkened not unto the people, for the cause was from the Lord, that he might perform his saying, which the Lord spake by Abijah the Shilonite unto Jeroboam the son of Nebat.
So now we see that this was the cause of the split of Israel. Now we see that because of bad counsel, it actually severed ties with family. This is why it's very important to look out for spiritual vampires, because they can really subvert houses. They can cause discourse between brothers and sisters. You have to look out for them. And this is one of the attributes. Again, they don't listen to good counsel, but they counsel going across. They counsel with their peers or people beneath them. So again, the spiritual vampire prey on younger souls. They love being around the younger brothers, the younger sisters, and then they try to ask them questions that they know they don't know nothing about. But then if it suffices their answer, they'll run with it. And they never take accountability, because once everything goes down, then they're blaming the person that gave them the counsel versus their own actions. Because when you keep reading down, Israel, in this history, Rehoboam started to fight Jeroboam even though Rehoboam spoke rough to the people. Matter of fact, let's keep reading. Go down to verse 17. Read 17 real quick.
Verse 17.
Uh-huh.
But as for the children of Israel, which dwelled in the cities of Judah,
Read.
Rehoboam reigned over them.
Read on.
Then King Rehoboam sent Adoram, who was over the tribute,
Meaning over the taxes. Read.
and all Israel stoned him with stones.
And all northern kingdom stoned that man. They like, nah, we ain't paying no taxes to a king we don't support. Read.
That he died. Therefore, King Rehoboam made speed to get him up to his chariot to flee to Jerusalem.
So now that the people turn to violence, now he wants to flee to Jerusalem and do what? Read.
So Israel rebelled against the house of David unto this day.
So now we see that Israel rebelled because of that. And Rehoboam didn't take it to mind to say, you know what? I messed up. Rehoboam took it to heart, because when you keep reading down, he was like, nah, we need to get them back. We need to fight to get them back and subdue them for doing this, because I'm the king. I deserve X, Y, and Z. No, it don't work like that, you spiritual vampire. You just severed a tie with your family because you now taxing them and then you want them to work even harder. No, it doesn't work that way. Now let's get another occurrence in the scriptures with a spiritual vampire. Give me 1 Kings 22, chapter 22, verse 6 through 14. As y'all can see, hey, Kings, there was a lot of stuff going on, Israel. A lot of stuff. Read that.
1 Kings chapter 22 and verse 6. Then the king of Israel gathered the prophets together, about 400 men, and said unto them, shall I go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall I forbear? And they
So wait. So this is a question. This is a question to counselors. Should I do X, or should I do Y, or should I do Z, right? Let's see what happened. Read.
And they said, go up, for the Lord shall deliver it into the hand of the king. And Jehoshaphat said, is there not here a prophet of the Lord besides that we might inquire of him?
So now, outside of the council, he wants to make sure that God is on board, meaning through the prophet is going to show us, okay, God is on our side, so we can do this. So that's confirming the council. Read.
And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, there is yet one man, Micaiah, the son of Imliel, by whom we may inquire of the Lord.
So wait a minute. It says the king of Israel. So at this time, Israel, the kingdom was split. Jehoshaphat was over southern kingdom. Ahab was over northern kingdom at this time. So he's the king of Israel right now. Now he gives the prophet's name, because Jehoshaphat is trying to go by the book. He's trying to say, you know what? We need to find out if our move is validated through God. Because again, our society as Israelites is ran off of theocracy, meaning our laws come from God to a prophet, and then it's spread to the people. Theo is of God, ocracy is principality. So our rule of government came from God. That was our rule of government. Now, Jehoshaphat is getting that confirmation. Does God align with our decision, or does he not, right? But let's see what the king of Israel said. Read.
But I hate him.
Wait. Read. Go back a little bit. Start at the top of verse 8.
And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, there is yet one man, Micaiah, the son of Imlah, by whom we may inquire of the Lord. But I hate him, for he doeth not prophesy good concerning me, but evil.
Read.
And Jehoshaphat said, let not the king say so.
So now the king of Israel is like, I don't like that prophet. Every time he opened up his mouth, it's always something evil. It's always something going against my plans or what I want to do. You see that? So what happens? Keep reading.
Then the king of Israel called an officer and said, Hasten hither, Micaiah, the son of Imlah. And the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, sat each on his throne, having put their robes in a void place in the entrance of the gate of Samaria. And all the prophets prophesied before them. And Zedekiah, the son of Chetna, made him horns of iron. And he said, Thus saith the Lord, with these shalt thou push the Syrians until thou have consumed them.
Read. So now we're seeing they didn't want to listen to the counsel of the prophet, so now they're getting counsel from other individuals. Keep reading.
And all the prophets prophesied so, saying, Go up to Ramoth Gilead and prosper, for the Lord shall deliver it into the king's hand.
Read.
And the messenger that was gone to call Micaiah spake unto him, saying, Behold now, the words of the prophet declare good unto the king.
So the words of the prophets, meaning the other prophets, declared good unto the king. So he's warning them, Micaiah at this time. But let's see what happens. Read.
Behold now, the words of the prophets declared good unto the king with one mouth.
Read. Meaning in one consent, they all said the same thing. Read.
Let thy word, I pray thee, be like the word of one of them, and speak that which is good.
Wait a minute. Wait. So we're going to read it, but that's like, speak smooth things unto him. Don't make him upset, even though it's the truth. Don't make him upset. Lie to him. Come on. This was going on back then. Spiritual vampires are in the scriptures, and we were reading it right now, Israel. That's why it's very good to be on your history. Keep reading.
And Micaiah said, As the Lord liveth, what the Lord saith unto me, that will I speak.
I will only speak what God told me to say. That's what Micaiah is saying. So if it goes contrary to what those other lying prophets said, I'm going to go contrary to it because God said it. Y'all see that? Now, let's go to, I mentioned it. Let's go to Isaiah real quick. Isaiah 30 and 10. Isaiah 30 and 10.
I got it.
Yes, sir.
Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 10. Which say to the seers, See not, and the prophets prophesy not unto us right things. Speak unto us smooth things.
Now we just read that. We just read it in action. So the prophet came to Micaiah saying, Hey, the other prophets, they said this, that, and the third to the king. So don't make him upset. And Micaiah had to tell him, Nah, I'm gonna speak what God say. So if it goes against the counsel that these false prophets told the king, I'm going to say what God say so it can protect the king. But a spiritual vampire doesn't see that counsel is meant to protect them. They see it as holding them back and hindering them from doing what they want to do. Keep reading. Finish it out.
Prophesy deceit. Get you out of the way. Turn aside out of the path. Cause the Holy One of Israel to cease from before us.
So now, because they speak they speak in deception, now is causing the Lord not to work with us. And we just read it in 1 Kings. We just read it. And when you keep reading down, oh boy, it went down. Of course, matter of fact, I'm going to just go ahead and get it. Go to verse 18 in 1 Kings 22. This is why I say, Israel, y'all got to read the history. Y'all got to read the history of your forefathers to see the evils that they did in their lifetime so we know what to repent for in this lifetime. All right, so y'all gotta read this history. Verse 18 now.
1 Kings chapter 22 and verse 18.
Uh-huh.
And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, did I not tell thee that he would prophesy no good concerning me, but evil?
See, he mad now. He is mad. Ahab is mad because he knew what he was doing was of his own heart. He knew that. Sensual, not of the spirit. We just read these things in Jude, Israel. These are the attributes of a spiritual vampire. Keep reading.
And he said, hear thou therefore the words of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left.
Uh-huh.
And the Lord said, who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead?
Read.
And one said on this manner, and another said on that manner.
Read.
And there came forth a spirit and stood before the Lord and said, I will persuade him.
That's so wait a minute. In the heavens, the Lord was having a council with different spirits to say, how are we going to get Ahab to fall? And this is what Micaiah the prophet revealed unto Ahab. He was telling him what the Lord was even thinking. And this is why I said what I said at the beginning of the class, Israel. I can have this class. I can go down in detail on the attributes of a spiritual vampire, but the spiritual vampire cannot see themselves as the spiritual vampire. They are programmed to fail. Again, they are programmed, destined, meant, chosen to fail. They are a spirit that cannot get right. They're not meant to be right. They're just meant to be there to test the spirits of the righteous to make them stronger. That's their purpose. But keep reading.
And the Lord said unto him, wherewith? And he said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying spirit.
A what type of spirit?
A lying spirit.
A deceptive spirit, a deceptive word in what?
In the mouth of all his prophets.
So the prophets that Ahab was listening to before, that was the spirit that covered their mind, and they lied through their mouths, making it sound good, but it wasn't right. Micaiah revealed this counsel going on in heaven about Ahab, but he could not see it. Why? Because he still wanted to do his own thing. He was sensual and not of the spirit, and did not care about the counsel of God. He didn't care. That is the same spirit that these spiritual vampires in these congregations have. They don't care about getting right. They don't care about following counsel. They just want to do their own thing. Finish that out.
And he said, thou shalt persuade him and prevail also. Go forth and do so.
So the Lord already said that this is going to work, even though Micaiah told Ahab that the Lord was having a council in heaven to get him to fall in a battle. He still ran to the battle and failed. That is scary, Israel. But there's spirits in the congregation called spiritual vampires that are not going to listen to counsel, not going to listen to rhyme nor reason, and they're meant to fall. Just to be an example of what not to do. That's their purpose. That is their purpose. All right, let's keep going. Now, again, let's go back to the physical vampire. They love darkness. We just described that the spiritual vampire, they love darkness, which is sin. They love to be secluded into themselves in that darkness. That's them separating themselves when they're in the midst of sin. There's no such thing as I'm separating myself from the body or from the congregation because the congregation is evil. No such thing. The reason that brothers and sisters separate themselves is because they're dealing with sin. They're dealing with a form of transgression that they don't want the congregation to know about, so they just separate themselves to alleviate the embarrassment. Now, the second one is that they feed off the life force of others. This is what The vampire does. The spiritual vampire feeds off the life essence through wasting time with counsel that they don't want. Again, they waste your time. They feed off your time by wasting it off of counsel that they do not want. Now, this one is that they hate mirrors and lack a reflection. Let's get into that real quick. Give me Titus chapter 1. Titus chapter 1. They hate mirrors because they lack a reflection. Or better yet, no. Let me go to what's that? 2 Corinthians 13:4. Let's get that first. Yeah, get that first. And then I want 1 Timothy 5:13 after that.
The book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 13 and verse 4.
Uh-huh.
For though he was crucified, verse 5.
Verse 5, I'm sorry. Yes.
2 Corinthians, chapter 13 and verse 5. Examine yourself whether ye be in the faith.
Mm-hmm.
Prove your own self. Know ye not your own self.
So a spiritual vampire, they hate to self-examine. Why? Because they know the flaws that they have is evil, but they would rather deflect on somebody else's flaws to make themselves appear as if they're alive. But they're not. Remember, a vampire is the walking dead. A spiritual vampire is the same thing. They're dead in the spirit because they don't know how to bring life to anybody. They don't know how to mend relationships, and they're not productive. They're very idle. Let's go to 1 Timothy 5:13 now. Very idle individuals. You can get on them forever until you can get on them all day, all night. They will not change because their mind is made up to what they want to do. Read that.
First Timothy chapter 5 and verse 13.
Uh-huh.
And withal they learn to be idle.
See that? You have to learn to be idle. So that means that you're not trying to apply yourself in different areas. Because to apply yourself in this truth, you have to be uncomfortable. You have to. Think about it. Me having this class right now with a few hundred people online, you really think there's a comfort in that? To a degree, it becomes comfortable because I'm using God's words to guide me. But initially, to build up to this point, it was uncomfortable. So in this truth, to be better, you have to get in uncomfortable situations to learn different facets about yourself, whether it's the weaknesses you may have, to cause them or to strengthen those said weaknesses. If you are shy, if you're bashful, if you're this, you have to then put yourself in the forefront. That's how you fight that type of spirit. You have to do the opposite of what the spirit is. It's honestly that simple. But a lot of us, we love being complex for no reason. Now, read that again, 1 Timothy 5:13.
1 Timothy chapter 5 and verse 13.
Uh-huh.
And withal they learn to be idle.
They learn to be idle. Read.
Wandering about from house to house.
Ooh, they always in other people's business. Again, they always in other people's business. Never center on self. Never center on, wait a minute, I could probably change this. Or I can use somebody else's experience to fix this in myself. They never do that. They always, oh, look at brother so-and-so. He's having troubles. I'm good though. They don't see themselves as a problem. Finish that out.
And not only idle, but tattlers.
Oh, tattlers. Always telling men's business. Always going to and fro from people's house. Remember, a physical vampire, you have to invite them in your house. With this spiritual vampire, keep them at the door. The scriptures do say don't invite every spirit into your house. It does say that. Certain individuals don't need to be in your private quarters. I'm going to just be real with you. You should know, like, all right, this person need to work on themselves a little bit more before they come around my private quarters. That is lawful. You could do that, especially if they're a spiritual vampire, because all they doing is going to your house to see what you got or to see what you don't have to talk about you. That's it. That is it. And this is in the body with fringes and a border of blue. Fringes burn too, Israel. Fringes are not fire retardant. They burn too. So let's stop playing with ourselves. Go to Proverbs 6:23. Because with the reflection, in order to see a reflection in a mirror, you need light. And physical vampires hate the light. It burns them up. Spiritual vampires hate light too. It burns them up. Let's see how. Read that.
Proverbs chapter 6 and verse 23.
Uh-huh.
For the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light, and reproof of instructions are the way of life.
You see that? Reproof and instruction is the way of life. This is what the spiritual vampire hates. They hate instruction. They hate reproof or correction of their actions. They hate it. So they hate the light of God. They really do. They hate it. They may play around for a time and say, oh, you know, I'm a God-fearing Israelite. But when it comes down to it, they're idle. They don't like to be corrected. They're not productive. They are sucking the life force out of you just by sitting there in your feast. All right, James 1:23. We're going to read James 1:23 and 25.
James chapter 1 and verse 23.
Uh-huh.
For if any be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass.
See that? If you are a hearer of the word, that's what a lot of spiritual vampires are. They hear the word, they'll listen to it. They ain't doing it though. Sometimes, y'all don't know Israel, but sometimes us officers, we have to counsel certain matters, things of that nature. And sometimes you wonder, you be like, is this person real? Like, sometimes you got to ask yourself that. You be like, wait, is this person sentient? Are they alive? They're not. They're not. We're reading that they are dead. They're just a walking dead with fringes on. That's it. That is it. Read it again.
James chapter 1 and verse 23. For if any man be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass.
So that his natural face in a glass is that mirror. If you see what you need to do, but you don't do it. The Bible is that mirror that spiritual vampires are afraid of because they lack that reflection. Why? They don't want to see the light. That light has to be cast on that image to even see a reflection through the mirror. They don't want that light on. Hence, they don't even want to be next to the mirror when the light is on. When that reproof is coming out, they don't want to be nowhere near it. Keep reading.
For he beholdeth himself and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he was.
You see that? He goeth his way, not God's way, his way. Meaning his own opinion, her own opinion, however they think of the world, they want to do what they want to do. So they listen to counsel until they get contingency to go around to get the counsel that they really want. Then they go off that. Then if it's a bust, then they're going to blame the person that gave the counsel versus their own actions. This is what a spiritual vampire do. They waste your time, Israel. They waste your time. And I'm showing y'all how to identify these type of spirits because they are rampant. They are lurking. At a city near you, they are around. All right, let's finish that out.
Verse 25.
Yes, sir.
But whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty and continue therein, he being not forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed.
You see that? A doer of the work. a doer of the work, not a forgetful hearer. Meaning you hear the law, you do it, especially pertaining to civility. A lot of us in Israel have issues with civility, forgiving people for simple, minute stuff, really getting counsel and following through on it. If you get counsel from a leader and you don't follow it, that shows what type of person you are. Now, I can understand if y'all talk in the midst of the council like, all right, I respect that, but I'm not going to do that. Just be a man or a woman and say, I'm not going to do that. But a spiritual vampire, they're not going to do that. They don't have the spirit in them to tell the counselor, you know what, to rebuttal the counselor face to face. They don't have that type of spirit. They'll be like, you know what, I'm going to listen to it, even though in my mind I ain't doing it. Then they'll walk their way and do whatever they want to do. This is why we have to separate from these type of spirits. That's why I'm trying to show y'all, brothers and sisters, how to identify. Now, let's jump over to how much time I got? I got a minute. All right. Now, this is a video I wanted to show. It's funny. It does have a little language in there. So hide your kids, hide your wife. If y'all have virgin ears, things like that.
I can't stay.
So this is something that needs to be said and needs to be heard. But it's funny. It's by one of the TikTok brothers. His name is Reggie. He does the singing. I know a lot of y'all probably heard his singing before, where he did Golden Girls theme. But let me see. I know I'm missing something. All right. Yes, let's close out with this video here.
I can't stand when people call me for advice and they don't even fucking use it! Why are you wasting my time and yours? Keep that situation and shove it up your ass!
So this is what you can use to fight a spiritual vampire. Do not give them the time of day. If you understand that they are taking your time and sucking up your life force by trying to ask for counsel that they themselves are not going to use, you should see that. You're like, you know what? I ain't even going to waste my time with that person, because this person is just it's just a matter of time before they fall away. All right. So, hey, Israel, hey, that's my time. I'm also Keaton out of Birmingham. I pray that y'all brothers and sisters have learned something today. Again, we do have, where's that right here? Wait, in front of the lion, right there. Yeah. We have the donation. Don't be shy to donate. We have, especially to our booster club. Our booster club, all praise to the Most High. Y'all doing great things, sending the leaders out to different places in the earth where this gospel needs to be preached. Don't forget, subscribe to Birmingham, family. Subscribe. Hey, we here. We are here in the South, preaching the truth. We getting it in. So subscribe. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel, IUIC Birmingham. And again, that's my time. Officer Keaton out of Birmingham. Shalom, Most High Christ bless.